Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in into the Biped podcast, where we elaborate on urban clean energy transition and how to improve related concepts, processes, and technologies to facilitate transformation toward climate neutral cities. My name is Pavel Kogut, and in today's episode, we will focus on PEDs, or positive energy districts. The concept was first introduced in 2018 to help reach climate neutrality in European cities. Several key principles were formulated to describe PEDs. PEDs produce more energy, local renewable energy, than they consume in a year. PEDs use the least amount of energy possible and tap into local renewable sources to achieve a net positive annual energy balance. PEDs leverage distributed energy sources to unlock flexibility potentials, and PEDs facilitate dynamic exchanges internally and with other areas to close their energy needs. But beyond these general principles, there still isn't much in the way of comprehensive guidance to assist cities with PED development. Many important questions remain unanswered. For example, what are PEDs about and why do we need them within the future urban energy paradigm? Are PEDs only about buildings? How to scale this plus energy concept from building level to street level to district level? How do we account for different land users present in a district? How to tackle the challenge of PEDs energy flexibility in view of emerging prosumer role and increasing dependence on intermittent renewable energy sources? And last but not least, what is the best way to measure PED potential in a given area? To address these questions and knowledge gaps, I'm joined today by Ali Hainoun, who's a senior scientist at the Austrian Institute of Technology Center for Energy. Ali has extensive experience in integrated energy system analysis and sustainable energy development. Since 2003, Ali has served as an expert on mission for the International Atomic Energy Agency, providing energy policy advice and capacity building on energy planning to over 15 countries worldwide. In addition, Ali worked and consulted for several international organizations, including KIT, FZJ, which is a research center for Juli, and UN Economic and Social Commission for West Africa. Ali, hello, nice to have you here. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, Pavel, for having me. I'm happy to be with you, and thank you very much also for a nice introduction about the topic of positive energy district. I hope we will have a nice session now to tell the audience a little bit about this new urban energy concept, and hopefully it will be useful also beyond the experts.
That's right, Ali. Well, before PEDs, we had similar concepts on a building scale, like positive energy buildings, zero energy buildings, net zero energy buildings. And if a district only consisted of buildings, then existing frameworks would be enough. Probably we would just need to adapt this building-oriented framework to work on a district scale. But a district also has a transport network, traffic flows, all kinds of other activities such as urban agriculture, which necessitates a more comprehensive and holistic approach. So, Ali, I was curious, how do you see PEDs and how can we make sense of this complex and multidimensional concept?
Thank you for your question, Pavel. Yeah, that is a good question to start with. So, positive energy districts are not simply a collection of buildings. Otherwise, we would stay, as you said, or stick to the same concept, also called positive energy buildings. But here we are speaking actually in the concept about expanding the scale from the building to the district, the urban areas, because in this regard, we are striving to integrate different building types and uses. And that means we have service building, we have residential building, we have externally also other activities, as you already mentioned, we have infrastructure around that. And what we are looking for when we expand to the district scale is to harness existing synergies. Imagine we have, for example, bakery or computational center, we have waste heat in industrial sites. So if we use those, that could certainly bring us one step further to cover the local demand. But beyond that, bringing district together will help us to tackle the challenge of energy flexibility generally, because that is when we can exchange energy between different buildings, or we can establish local storage facility. That is much easier to realize at district scale than on building scale. More important is in the so-called spatial temporal urban energy modeling is to go to the higher spatial scale, because at this level we could achieve a kind of more actually spatial efficient scale. So bringing building together, they could bring other opportunities to harness existing efficiency. And beyond that, so positive energy districts are not only about building. We need to integrate our mobility, because mobility is getting more and more as mobility depending on electricity. And electricity can be used from local BD, for example. But beyond that, mobility might help us also on overcoming the challenge of flexibility. Imagine that we have a lot of cars within the city, electric vehicles, and we can use the storage, the batteries of those as an additional storage in the night to feed back into the building grid. And that could help us a little bit to increase the supply security of the district. So that is actually some of those incentives behind this concept. And we are aware that another reason is once we are claiming that our setting should support city to become climate neutral, so we cannot stuck there and just discuss about building. We need to integrate. And when we realize viable solution at distant scale, it is easier to deploy them to later to the city scale, on those can accelerate the transformation toward climate neutral cities. So those are maybe the most important actually facts behind this movement toward positive energy district. But there are other aspects I think we could elaborate on that in the next questions.
Yeah. And, I'm curious, Ali. So let's say we have city X that wants to establish a positive energy district. Is it realistic for the city to aim for a net positive annual energy balance on a district level right away? Or should the city consider a more gradual approach, take a more gradual approach whereby it starts with buildings, scales to street level, before finally scaling results to even larger area with multiple land users? What do you think?
Well, thank you. That's a really very important question for city decision making. First of all, not every district can become positive energy district. So that is very important to highlight. Maybe only few within the given city, depending on the climate condition, depending on the socio-economic context, but also depending on the heritage and the history of the city itself. So as we have already highlighted, beds require a high level of energy efficiency. They will be completely dependent from local renewables. So on annual basis, it's clear for everybody the definition, but it's good to highlight again that positive energy district, what we are looking for are predefined urban area that strive to become on annual basis positive. That means on annual basis, they will produce more renewable energy than what they are consuming. It might be 101% or 102%. That is then the leverage for that city transformation. And with this in mind, so it is important that not every place could fulfill this requirement. In addition to that, there is the challenge of flexibility again, because depending on renewables means we cannot handle and provide the energy every time we need. So we need to have local storage capacity, like batteries, like storage for power and heat. And also we need to ensure some interaction between building, mobility, and still the other reaching synchronization with the neighborhood energy system is important, with the electric grid, public grid, with the district heating that we have. So all of those need to be fulfilled. Very important is the context of the urban building we have, urban concept applied. If you have very high building, it's not easy really to achieve that because the available rooftop areas. So again, the challenge land use are not sufficient to cover all the energy demand because you have higher demand. So those are some struggling aspects. So with this in mind, debts, if they need to be realized in a certain urban scale, so they need to overcome a wide range of interdisciplinary challenges. There are other aspects, for example, technological aspect, financial aspect, social aspect. Imagine even if you have the potential for sufficient renewables, but your building is still lacking behind in terms of energy efficiency. You need to invest in refurbishment. You need also to invest in implementing renewables, and you don't have the sufficient financial scheme or bankable model to realize that. That is another big challenge to be considered. So with this, I guess your approach or what you proposed, a gradual or graded approach, is very much recommended, that building should strive to become more efficient. So strive to integrate more and more on-site and local renewables. And with the time, they could move. And because of that, as we defined the setting of PEDs, we have different types. One of those we called candidate or PED candidate. It means you could work. We defined for you a district. We know now we can cover only 20% of your energy with local renewables. But with the time, once you are getting more efficient, you can integrate more renewables. You are improving and improving. And who knows, maybe in the future we have much better technology like micro wind turbines, for example, or improved utilization of shared geothermal energy. All of those could help us to actually to make a leap toward becoming closer to 100% and even beyond that. So graded approach is fine. And for this purpose, usually we use a kind of mapping and modeling framework to check where we could figure out if a certain place here or there has the potential or not, what measures need to be taken, what recommendation we can provide, and very important maybe at the end to think about the regulatory framework within the given city. So there are some governments that are favoring the advancement and involvement of PETs, but still we don't have a full package of standard regulatory approach supported by financial scheme that could enable and accelerate the deployment of positive energy district.
That's interesting, Ali. And on your point that not every city or every district has potential to become PED, I was wondering, how can a city know whether a particular district within its boundaries has potential to become a PED? And maybe the chosen area is already close to generating a net positive annual energy balance. How can we know if the target area is on the way to PED target? Maybe it's 10%, maybe it's 80%, or maybe it's already 120%. Are there any frameworks to measure and guide this assessment?
Yeah, exactly. I already tried in the previous question to touch upon this direction. As I said, we have PED candidate, but to figure out, as you said, what potential does exist in the selected urban area, we need certainly to have supporting tools, a kind of modeling and evaluation framework. And for that, we have started already in this domain, in the domain of urban energy systems, to work on developing and deploying tools to address this challenge. So in this regard, so city should use such tool or should ask for support from expert energy and urban planner experts and experts from different stakeholders so that they can map urban areas and evaluate key factors such, first of all, the energy demand by sectors, by end use, also very important, which type of fuel we are using. Is it gas? Is it oil? Is it already a lot of electricity, which can maybe accelerate the transformation? What is the efficiency level? How much refurbishment we need? And very important, also the existing on-site and local renewable energy potential. So rooftop, open space, all those elements are important. And uh, besides the flexibility needs, as I already mentioned previously, and how this district is interacting with the neighborhood energy system. All those complex aspects can only be tackled when we have the right framework. And there are several frameworks, like, for example, the tool method we are using now in the project Pipette and in other projects, or the city energy analyst, which we are trying now to use in the project Ascent and other tools. So those tools offer structured approach for urban energy system modeling and analysis at district scale. And they start from different perspective, but very important for those tools to be in the position to link the energy performance of the district with the socio-economic and technological context, establish energy balance, so simulate the energy flow between demand and supply, and flexible exchange. So we need also the GIS mapping framework to know where the energy is being consumed more or less, where we could put our BD, other local renewables. And also those tools need to be somehow operated based on the co-creation process that we need to integrate the stakeholders. So the energy supplier, a citizen, but very important, the cities themselves, because they are responsible for the regulatory framework. So that is the approach being now applied. And there are actually, as I already mentioned, several tools that could support us in this challenging exercise.
It was really interesting to learn about the MAPED framework and the city energy analyst that you mentioned. And if you could describe in a couple of sentences to someone wondering why are these frameworks needed, why are they important for planning and implementing PEDs, what would be your short answer?
Yeah, that's well. Thank you very much for this question. I like it because that is the domain where we are working in our group of urban energy system analysis now by AIT. So since several years, we are working on developing so-called spatial temporal urban energy system modeling framework. It is in the end stage now, and it is becoming soon available. So we developed it over the last, I would say, 7 years. We are starting to applying it at both city and district scale. Out of this framework, we have also city energy analyst integrated and also spatial rapid assessment tool Merit, because again, we recommend at the beginning that cities need to have tools, but it is very challenging if the tools are very data extensive. So we need a lot of data that are complex. Because of that, we developed first Mabit. So there's a model for analysis of positive energy district where we enable cities or co-create with them together a framework to map a certain urban area and figure out where they are. Again, are they by 10 or 20% coverage of on demand, and how should they evolve in the future? What should they do in terms of refurbishment, increasing the share of local renewables, and so on, to become soon, in a graded way, in a gradual way, to become positive. So other approach like city energy analyst goes a little bit beyond, and we have a GIS-based modeling. That means we are modeling every building, linking all those buildings together and figure out in each zone of the district what should be done in order to become a little bit more efficient and produce more local renewables. Over the whole exercise, we need also to think about these flexibility issues, because it will be the biggest challenge. For that, we develop scenarios with this tool. That means we imagine what is about the behavior of the consumer. So demand side management aspect is important. We need in the future to think how we could shift load shape peak, what response, what incentives we can provide to the consumer. If they are ready, for example, in the evening to shift some application to reduce power demand. So those are elements we integrate in future transformation pathway, and those tools help us a lot to figure out how we should transform, and having in mind this co-creation process with the citizen as consumer. In this case, they won't become in the future prosumer, and that might help a lot in this direction. Again, those frameworks, tools are very, very important to support us and integrate also the role of stakeholders and citizens in the whole topic.
Oh, yeah. Ali, well, listening to you, I picked up so many interesting and useful insights. Certainly, my knowledge of pets has improved just by listening to you. Learned a lot from you today. And I hope that our listeners too learned something new and interesting from today's podcast. Ali, is there any insight that you would like our listeners to take away from today's conversation?
Thank you. Yeah, that is maybe at the end important to come with some clear conclusion, a message to the audience, just to communicate and elaborate on the right context. So positive energy district, in our opinion, are very nice concept, but they are still in the early stage of their development and deployment. So that means we still not have it in the hand. We have very few demonstration at city scale, and as already highlighted, this is also very much dependent from the context of the climate, on the also demographic and social aspect, but also it needs a lot of investment and a lot of readiness to transform. So with this in mind, there's strong need for new concepts. So innovation also, integrated innovative solutions are very important at urban scale, and that is needed to address this wide range of interdisciplinary challenges. So already highlighted that might be in the future, we have soon very advanced and innovative technical solutions that could help us. But another aspect we cannot solve this is the social aspect. So we need also to explore that those new urban concepts provide a livable place. They are giving us that what we expect as consumer, and not only converting district to some kind of high technological hub where everybody is struggling, especially old people. So that need to be handled, and also we need to provide recommendation to the governments. So we have the right regulatory framework to support these aspects. Another element need to be highlighted also that pets in general are not merely an energy standard. So they are holistic, integrated, spatial, social, and economic framework, which is needed actually to address them, again, because it's not a machine. It is a place where we live as human, and then we have to ensure that they are sustainable. So addressing social, economic, and environmental aspects are very, very much important. And we have already highlighted how we could come there. We still need to demonstrate them. And that is the reason why we have several so-called lighthouse city projects, like what we are running now with other partners like Positive, or like Ascent project we started with Munich and Lyon over the last time, or the Biped project where we are testing at the level of the district with digital twin. So all those frameworks are needed, but very important for the realization and deployment of the so-called real demo site. Now in Lyon and Munich, we are demonstrating how we could implement positive energy district. And to prove that, we need to monitor the integrated solutions we have implemented, building, infrastructure, and mobility, and provide at the end a set of so-called KPIs, key performance indicators, that can prove that this setting is functioning in the reality. And we look forward that those extracted indicators from real-world experiment can support us to deploy and replicate such setting within the given so-called lighthouse cities and beyond. And that is very important thing we need to take with us. Finally, maybe it is needed to establish a suitable certification scheme that align with the requirements at the urban scale and complete existing EU building certificate systems, because this is a little bit going beyond the existing certificates for building.
Fascinating. Fascinating to hear all that. Ali, great discussion. And to our listeners, I'd like to highlight that we'll be having more exciting conversations about PEDs, about clean urban energy transition. So stay tuned and we'll see you on the next one.